at 5:15, so I will call this meeting to order and remind everybody that meeting's being recorded on Microsoft Teams, and participation in the meeting is consent to be recorded and to rebroadcast of the recorded meeting. It will be posted on the site, and everybody turn their cell phones either off or mute. Gary, do you want to do roll calls?
Sure. Karen Schumann,
Present.
Gary Herrick, present. Sally Ricciardi,
Present.
William Clevenger,
Present.
Tony Mayfield.
Present.
Stand for the pledge of allegiance.
Pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice.
I have approval of minutes from the August 15th, 22 regular meeting.
So moved. Second.
All in favor?
Aye.
Did you get any minutes for the other, for the joint meeting?
I think they're all in this document Karen prepared.
I emailed.
Okay,
Oh,
yeah, for the,
that's for the August 2nd one.
Yeah. The council meeting.
And we just voted for the 15th, correct?
Yes.
Okay.
And
Everybody did get
Yeah,
this. I mean, I
right.
think, yeah, everyone was copied.
Yeah.
Yep.
I got it. So, do I have a motion to accept the minutes from the joint meeting of town council?
So moved. Second.
All in favor?
Aye.
Next item on the agenda is the town manager brief.
Okay. Not a ton of new news to report, but, for the housing development and this first item, the Tamarack Road property, these projects are gonna occur simultaneously. You guys, may know that, with the Tamarack Road property, BZA had given them a variance to do that project. They did receive an extension at the last BZA meeting because they were not ready to apply for a permit yet, since this is coinciding with the housing development. And just to update you on the housing development, as of about 20 minutes ago, I found out we received 1.3 million toward the housing project from the Ready grant. We applied for 1.8. They had 150 million worth of applications, and they had 40 million to give out in this capital round. So we get 1.3 of that 40 million to do the housing project. So one of the things that I've heard was a kudo is that we did have our match lined up with redevelopment, and that helped us get the grant. And then just as an FYI, Marshall County Crossroads team put in a project for a skills and innovation center through the new executive director, Ali Shook, and hers was fully funded at $1,750,000. So we are quite excited about that.
That's great for both.
Yeah, and the county did match on that as well as some other organizations. So I know Ally's been working on raising private funding for that project, so we're pretty excited. Lake Max Trail Phase 3 and Slayton Jefferson Street Trail, the matches you guys made for that. We've received a coordination letter from Troyer Group that went to NDOT. That means that they're getting the environmental work done, and the environmental then sends letters out to various agencies that have to sign off on that. So they put out what they call a coordination letter, and that's gone out, which just means that it's starting to move along a bit. Broadband Fiber Task Force, working on a contract with this. Bob Porter and I met with Plymouth, the city of Plymouth, city engineer Chris Miller, and also ward buyers from Bourbon. Both of those have worked with SURF. We had a nice long conversation with them about what to expect when they're boring and properties. We got some permitting information from both Bourbon and Plymouth. So I'm gonna work some of that into our contract. In both their cases, they didn't have a contract with SURF. They just basically gave the permission and got started. I'm hoping to have the first draft of that ready for the town council meeting next week. And we'll go from there. But we got a ton of good information out of Plymouth and Bourbon, and Bob is feeling much better about how we approach it on our end.
Great.
Yeah, that was one of the best meetings I think I've ever had, and really good to have people who have been through the process already help us. The Ready Grant application, as I said, I think when I wrote this morning after the commissioners meeting, by the time I sent it to you guys, we finally got the news. I wasn't expecting that today because I knew they were having a big meeting today, but they have to fill these out. So I will let you know when I know more about how that's going to work. I think it'll probably work a lot like regional cities did. It's all going through the RDA, just like regional cities did. So we will have to work out a development agreement still with Collins and the Culver Equities LLC. And that'll be part of the whole process that we're going through with Tamarack as well. Crossroads Culver had a comprehensive planning meeting while I was on vacation about a week and a half, 2 weeks ago. The survey I gave Tony, Sally, I know you and Bill have taken it. Gary, I'll leave one with you as well. This is the most recent one we're doing mainly with stakeholders. And it's sort of like a SWOT analysis of strengths, weaknesses, challenges, opportunities for key areas. MACOG is going to come down this Thursday, meet with our department heads and do the same sort of exercise with staff here at the town. Regional Stellar Park Project construction is supposed to start this week. Keep in mind, they're also doing a drainage project for us, the same company, Thomas Excavating, at the Beach Lodge. So both of those are going to get going. And the town council approved of giving the old playground equipment that's coming out for that project to La Paz. So they'll be picking that up as soon as we get that coordinated. Amber and I are kind of in touch with Thomas about the exact time they pull that out. Teen space, we're still working that out. Amber and I talked about this during budget time. We're going to look at potentially trying to get some adult supervision volunteers to start off down there and see how it goes so that we're not killing the park budget with year-round labor for that project. And that is really it until we get deeper into contracts with your two big projects.
What are we gonna, what do we do with that 1.3 million?
The way, when I wrote the grant application bill, I primarily structured that application to put that money toward utilities and infrastructure, and worked with Al Collins to, since it's a much larger project than we could apply for dollars for, we decided to phase it out. So it's really, those dollars can go toward phase one, and phase one will be utilities infrastructure and the build out of some of the multifamily units. Al gave me a breakdown of what he wants to go in that phase one, which is what we've provided them.
Okay.
I'll forward you guys, there's a new map now that Al just gave me yesterday and we turned into the RDA. Even though it was after deadline, we were giving him basically an updated version of what we gave him a couple weeks back. But there's a lot in that phase one that'll probably even go well beyond the amounts that we were applying for.
Thank you.
So, but it's not nearly as restricted as, say, an Okra grant would be. As long as it's used toward that housing development, we're okay. So the side of that you have to monitor, like with what we did with regional cities, there's an equation. If they give us 1.3, there has to be a 1.3 match, and then Al would have to be 60% of the total. So we'll have to figure out what our total budget can be within that grant program. We'll have no problem reaching the 60% plus from the builder side of it, because he's going well beyond a $10 million project. But for every penny the grant spends, the match has to spend, and then 60% has to come from the private investment. So on $1 million spent, 600,000 is the developer, 200,000 is the grant, 200,000 would be the match. So
Which would
that's
come
one way to look at it. And we've got up to 1.3 million in grant, up to 1.3 million in match before we hit. So they've covered quite a bit of that project for us.
There's so many parts to all this. It seems like they're coming together. When do we actually think we'll see something?
He wants to start construction as soon as next year.
I mean, like,
And the money from the grant has to be spent by the end of 2025. So,
I mean, I'd like to see it before I move on to.
yeah, government is slow. Grants are even slower. And actually, this region, South Bend Elkhart region, they've just now decided who they're giving grants to. There's other regions that have already started spending money and are in construction already. So they just rolled it out slower with South Bend Elkhart region.
So will CRC be part of the match then?
Yes, you guys approved that at your
Okay.
1 or 2
And
meetings ago.
That match will be spread over,
Time, yeah.
over 15 years or more.
I don't know how they did the invoicing for regional cities. I think it'll probably be similar, but they'll have to roll out the details for us, because
Yeah.
I'm guessing they're disseminating it the same way they did regional cities. Where I think, did the developer cover it up front and he got reimbursed?
Central license fund, so I think we paid a number of invoices directly. And worked it all.
Yeah, and I think that, and the regional city side of it, I think Kevin had to like show them invoices for the match before he could get their part of it.
Yeah.
I don't know how it all works, but they will let us know, I'm sure.
Yeah, I'm sure they will. And it will have red tape attached to it, I'm sure.
Yeah, we stayed under the, there is a threshold for these ARPA dollars. If you go over 10 million, then you have to pay Davis-Bacon wages and there's other stuff. So we intentionally, with this phase, when we applied, our total was 9.8 million. And you can go up, you can apply for up to 20%. They're not necessarily going to give you the full 20%, which is like in our case. So we applied for 1.8, we got 1.3.
Now,
But
you already said it's
I'm
been
thrilled with that.
released.
Yes, there's a press release out now.
Okay.
And you can see the full list. Elkhart probably got the most. They had some really large projects, like Beacon Health got 11 million something. There were a couple projects in there, like the $5 million range. Marshall County Crossroads applied for that skills center, and they also applied for one for Marion Ancilla College's nursing lab. That one did not receive funding. And then there's a programming round still. So blue zones,
Okay, that's-
they'll apply for blue zones in the programming round. Those are not due till, I heard, November. They're announcing in December. So we won't learn that one until later in the year. To my knowledge, that one is one of the only ones. I know Marshall County's going for that one, and they may go for another one related to providing resources for the the new art council and Reese Theater. And at one point we were applying for the Crossroads team, but I don't know if they'll move forward with it because there's been talk that they won't fund that sort of thing.
Thank you. Thank you
Good
for all
stuff.
your work as well. Next item on the agenda is the financial reports. Need approval for the June and July 2022 financial reports. And she said she wasn't going to ask for the approval of this previous month.
Yeah, I just sent it out today.
Was sent out today, so.
So moved.
I second.
Okay, a motion and a second, all in favor?
Aye.
Do I have a motion to approve the claim? Saw those.
So
So
moved.
moved, yeah.
Yeah, go ahead.
So Tony gets credit for it?
Either way. I'll second. Either way.
Yeah, and a little variety.
Okay,
We'll say that Bill,
There's only a few of us here, so.
yeah. Bill made
You-
the motion and
you both get credit for it, okay? So,
And Carrie asked me to, the next item on the agenda is,
should we vote?
oh,
Should we vote?
should we vote on it? Yeah,
Yeah.
probably. I'm getting ahead of myself. All in favor?
Aye.
Aye. Thank you. Wake up. Carrie had asked that I bring before the CRC the downtown business roof lighting. And apparently the lights are still working. However, the ones in front of Cafe Max at the roof line have fallen off the roof or come loose from the roof. And I don't know whether that was when they re-roofed. They took them down or so that they didn't damage them, or if they fell off after they re-roofed. But the problem is being that my understanding is Susie's not interested in paying to have them put back up. CRC is kind of in a spot where we can pay for a grant to improve something like a facade grant. However, we can't pay for maintenance on a project. The reason that CRC isn't funding the cost for the electricity to keep the lights lit is that it's not in the purview of what CRC is allowed to do. So I'm not sure whether we could fund this or not, of putting it back up. I don't. Carrie, they are lit, right?
Yeah, the ones over the block, from Lucretia all the way to the flower shop are not.
Was there fault involved? I mean, did somebody, I mean, in the process of re-roofing, were they dislodged and knocked down? Is there any way to verify that somebody else is responsible for?
Well, they were lit, although overcapping back, it drooped. And then eventually they all died. So it went in phases.
Sounds like a job for the Chamber of Commerce.
Wow, Carrie.
Why is there?
Ginny looked at you, so I decided
Karen's been learning
I'd
about the
look too.
chamber.
oh, you're not on it anymore?
No, I'm not on the chamber board.
You know, I don't know the answer because, you know. And it could be that they're just not plugged in.
I think they work. I think it's just the fact that they've fallen down.
Well, they're not lit on that section.
Are they not lit? I thought that were.
Is it just that's just over her store or is it
The whole block.
the whole block?
Does it require like a boom truck to get, or
I don't
can
think
you
so.
climb on the building up there?
I think that they originally were put up by climbing up onto the roof. And a couple of the roofs have, you know, ladders going up the back from the alley to the roof. And then just attaching them.
And then is that? Or the business owner? How is it paid for?
Well, generally with,
The CRC put the money out to install, and that's where it ended.
Yeah.
And now you're looking at the town to go onto private property.
Yeah.
To possibly make repairs without the possibly the permission of the property owner.
Yeah.
You've
and
got
then,
a lot of
I mean,
functions to
before
deal
we
with.
could before anybody could repair it, you would need the permission of, you know, if it's the entire string, unless the problem is strictly over Susie's property. Where if it's unplugged, you just plug it back in and everything comes back to life and then put hers back up. But you would need to get permission from every single business owner in that block to climb on their roof.
Or owner, building owner.
Yeah, or the building owner.
I would assume each building owner is paying the electric on that, because if, otherwise it would have to hook up to one of our electric, and we don't have it there, I don't think.
Yeah.
We have it north of there,
Well, I know
and I
that
don't think we would have agreed to pay their electric bill, even if CRC was buying their lines.
I assume there was some proposal was agreed to by all the business owners. So,
and I believe that, you know, that was actually before anyone in this room was on the CRC. I found minutes where it was approved. It was proposed and it was the minutes stated per the request of the businesses on Main Street. It was proposed March 21st of 2016. So I mean, we're going back many years.
Back when they had that merchant group on Main Street, that was still
Yeah,
in operation. I think that kind of fizzled in like 18 to 19.
yeah, and in the September minutes, it said that Susie had agreed to plug in the lights at her building for her block. Because I think that there was one, you know, you had to have a source of power somewhere. on each block because you couldn't, there wasn't any way for to attach it to the town.
Is this an aesthetic thing or is it a safety?
I walked that stretch with my dog around 9 o'clock.
Yeah.
And it really is an enchanting look, except the obvious.
Well, you'd think that the business owners would like to have it done. I mean, that'd be if I owned the place and it had brought a nice look to it, I'd say,
Yeah.
yeah, let's get the thing fixed and plug them in.
Well, and that's the thing is there are several businesses on the block.
Right.
Where's the ownership? I mean, was it?
Well, and even if there was a contract, probably 90% of the businesses have changed hands since 2016.
Wonder, have the businesses been approached and said,
Well, yes.
okay.
And Susie was the first one, and Susie said CRC's deal, not mine.
Huh.
So, and that's why I proposed that we meet with Susie just to clear the air or
Right.
at least get some direction.
Yeah. I mean, it may have been the CRCs that approved the original, but would still be the CRC's responsibility to.
Yeah, I mean, it's similar to the wayfinding thing. Perhaps we put money into it, but been no resolution to maintain it. So, I
And
mean,
that's the bigger issue that I'm concerned about.
Yeah.
There's
There's,
wonderful grants and approaches to beautifying the surround, but there's no follow through to that. And how can you do that without a follow through?
well, I don't know that I don't know any other community that has facade grants that follows through on the grant itself. Saying that you must maintain it because there's no way that you can force a property owner 10 years down the road to actually maintain something that another property owner signed.
But it's certainly not the CRC's
Right.
responsibility to maintain it.
That
Yeah.
facade
They
becomes
can't.
Yeah,
becomes
I mean,
specific to
legally,
that business. The lights are community property, so you would think that there's enthusiasm amongst the business owners to keep it looking nice.
you would think, and I could ask them, maybe, was it Susie that asked the others in the block?
I don't know. I don't know. Susie wasn't really willing to talk a whole lot about it. She's a busy person and she just said CRC's responsible for that
Well, we're not. I
during restaurant.
hate to say it, but
It's just as I think we pay for a roof for her building, but we don't maintain it.
Right.
yeah,
Well, the thing is, it
And it's not community property. It's
No.
literally an investment that the CRC makes investments. So like they're gonna be investing in infrastructure and utilities for a housing development. But they won't be the entity responsible for those utilities.
but it enhances the community. It's like you said, the way finding painting, it's like the flags on the lampposts. These are things that enhance the beauty of the area. And it's not really the shop owner's responsibility, even though he or she said, yes, let's do it, here's some money. I think there should have been an endowment to this, saying, or at least a contractual agreement saying if there's a failure.
we can't do an endowment either.
Can't legally do that.
No, but
Yeah.
you could specify, hey, if you want this done, we need you to sign that you're going to maintain it. Make provisions for it. I mean, otherwise you have this. So we have you have a downtown that has a continuity failure to its, and it's going to get worse. It's not going to get better. So what do? Just wait for them to individually all go out, or you just unplug the whole thing and say, well, it's a nice idea, but we don't want to look like we're not uniform here.
I don't know the answer to that, honestly, because I couldn't find anything any kind of actual agreement. But I do know that it was discussed later when some bulbs went out, but it was up to the individual business owners to replace their bulbs. And the ones that had bulbs out at the time said, not a problem. Just tell us, we gave them the name of the original contractor so that he could tell them exactly what bulb they needed to put in. So that it didn't blow the whole series or, it was the appropriate light bulb. And as far as I know, most of them, they either haven't burned out since or.
Well, it's gonna happen.
Yeah.
This maybe.
And I guess you could tell them no next time they ask for money for something.
Yeah.
Just, you didn't maintain the last thing we paid for.
Right.
Or you have some agreement.
Yep.
Each of those people have to sign that we understand we have to maintain.
We may want to take that into consideration as we consider other projects.
Oh,
That
yeah.
there is some.
Yeah.
But it boggles my mind that they don't want to enhance their own look.
Well, even then you couldn't do it in perpetuity because you can't,
No, I would just.
you couldn't put it on a deed or something.
Correct.
So
Yeah,
if
no one-
the business
yeah.
turns over,
Right, that's right.
Right.
have to be the current business owners.
Sure.
Someone needs or.
And if somebody buys the business or buys the building and.
So
they're not- they're not
whose job
interested.
really is, that's how ignorant I am, in the community, in the town, whose job really is it? What group, committee, board to coalesce the business owners? One of the big things on the survey here, underdeveloped lots and vacant storefronts, expand the central business district, these kind of things in the survey. So who really,
Usually you have a chamber.
Right.
that's coalescing them, and you also now, and Indiana has a Main Street organization under Okra, and we do have a Main Street organization, Develop Culver. So those groups should be concerned about downtown Culver.
right, so they're the ones that should be getting together with these, in my opinion, they're the ones that should be getting together with these business owners and saying, well, the CRC provided this improvement, but it's not their responsibility to maintain it. You're the owners, you need to maintain, and I think those organizations should
And
be
I-
approaching these.
I know that I came on the CRC early in 17. And they had discussed, it was relatively new and they had a section that went out, but the contractor repaired it. Its cost, but they said that, basically, since it was still part of the original contract, that, yeah, we would contact the contractor and tell him that it needed to be fixed. But that it was made clear to the people that we couldn't, my recollection was that we could not, subsequently continue to repair it. I mean, that was because it was an installation problem rather than a repair. And so,
Well, there's a Develop Culver meeting tomorrow at 4:30.
Yeah, I mean, I can bring it up at Develop Culver and at Chamber. Sometimes those organizations are more effective than other times.
Yeah.
I think Gary was right though, saying that sounds like a chamber project.
Yeah.
It's-
Yeah.
I mean, that seems like the group that would be the most well-equipped to address that issue. I mean, you've got businesses, that span, that strand, they may not even own their building, right? So.
And they would have,
This particular issue is a struggle in other towns. I've been to some of the Main Street conferences. And it's the same, you hear about the same sort of struggles. One is dying downtowns and rural communities and how do you attract foot traffic in the friendly, charming atmosphere that you're getting at here? You know, your business owners do have to care. And many of them wear multiple hats. So some of them are busy or burned out, but we have invested a lot in downtown Culver. We did the uniform lighting, we did the crosswalks. You guys paid on the match for that long before all we were here. That was a grant that we did, and we also take care of their snow on their sidewalks. You know, that is something the town has started paying for, I don't know, what, 5 years ago, Karen, or so. I mean, so there's investment there. We helped pay for parking lot, you know, right off of Main Street because they complained about lack of parking.
To Carrie's point, I would just say, you know, the lights, it's creating a detriment. It just doesn't look good. It's just like the wayfinding. It looks like terrible. So, you know, how do you, maybe that's the chamber also. They can pay to maintain the wayfinding. Because I think it guides you to certain commercial areas. So, you know, they benefit from it. So maybe it is the chamber.
What can I do?
There's a chamber meeting tomorrow. No, wait, not tomorrow, next week. Wait a minute.
Yeah, this is third Tuesday.
Yeah, so at noon
Third
at the
Monday.
coffee, if they still do it at the coffee.
Where,
And I would email Jesse Gilly to say that you'd like to be put on the
and this
agenda.
is different from development company that Trace Fox.
Correct. So chamber would be
Development
Becky
Culver
Fury and
also doesn't have money. So